right, moving right on. Our speaker today, let's see, Deepa Liu. She's a sacred artist, a spiritual success coach, an interfaith minister, a co-founder of Magnify Your Miracles membership. She's been on her spiritual path for over 30 years, calls herself a Buddhist Yogi. And as a sacred artist, she creates each painting as a sacred portal, a doorway to experiencing the divine presence. Each is created with the intention to bless you with the divine and to uplift you in your environment. And she works with all kinds of people, spiritual seekers, healers, creatives, highly sensitive women, and spiritual entrepreneurs to deepen their connection with spirit and their intuition and fulfill their purpose. So today she's going to talk a little bit about discovering the catalyst to your superpowers. What it is that motivates your spiritual powers into action. When you discover what that is, it works to deepen your connection into your higher power to access it with ease and grace. So you're going to learn a little more how to deepen that intuition, open your connection. You'll learn a couple things that are blocking you and making you feel stuck. Some keys to uncovering your purpose and expanding you into a deeper spiritual connection. And a little more about how sacred art helps you grow spiritually and develop your intuition so you know what is true for you. So with a beautiful, warm welcome from Circle, we welcome Deepa Liu. And maybe you may have to unmute yourself.
I did. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, everybody. I loved the focus on the miraculous or the magnification, and then also the Thomas Edison story. So I'm kind of curious, how many of you would like to increase your spiritual superpowers, what some might call spiritual gifts?
Okay.
Show of hands, shake your head, something. Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. I assume most people do if you're on this call. But what are actually your spiritual superpowers? You know, I mean, because it's not something we talk about every day. But let me just give you a few examples. One, the obvious one, your intuition. You know, your ability to create your own life, a life that you love. Your power to choose, your thoughts, your imagination, you know, receiving visions from spirit, you know, all of those are just some of your spiritual superpowers that are there for you. Now, what I have found is that most people are not actually open to all of them. They may have some, you may have some of them where you actually have some gifts you're utilizing, but I haven't found anybody yet who's actually using 100% of their spiritual power and their spiritual gifts. So, do you know what the biggest question is I get about the superpowers? Probably don't know, but the biggest question I get when I work with clients or I talk with people is they want to know, they go, well, how do I trust my intuition? Anyone ever been there where you're not sure you trust it, your intuition? Yeah, I get people, yeah. Well, you know, that's the biggest thing I get asked constantly by people is, well, how can I trust my intuition more? How can I have more downloads? How can I have a deeper connection with spirit? How can I do this so that I can feel more confident in my life? That's the biggest question I get, the most frequent one. Because, you know, everybody knows about intuition, but yet they feel like they don't trust it. They don't know how to actually utilize it in a way that makes them feel confident and able to move forward, knowing that what they're receiving is actually true. All right, so that's the biggest question I get. So out of curiosity, how many of you have that, like where you feel like your intuition, like you question it? Anybody here feel like they question their intuition? I got some. Yeah, okay. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. You know, one of the things about if you participate, it actually helps your energy too, because there's studies done that participation actually increases your ability to retain what you're hearing. So since we're going to be together for a little bit, is it okay if I share a little bit about my story? Is that okay? Show of hands, yes? Okay, thank you. Okay. So like Sharon said, I've been on the spiritual path for many, many years. And you know, I've been devoutly practicing every morning, every evening. I meditate and chant. But despite that everyday morning, everyday evening practice, 7 to 8 years ago, I would say I was not a visual person. Never got visions. When people did guided meditations, I wouldn't see anything. I would feel things, but I wouldn't see anything. Now, I don't know if any of you are like that, where you feel things, but you don't see a lot. Everybody's intuition, their connection with spirit works differently. But mine didn't work through seeing. It was just, I would feel, because I'm an empath. I would sense things, feel things. That's how my intuition speaks to me, or it spoke to me back then. But I was like, okay, this is how it works. You got to go with with the gifts that you have. But one day my wife, Frances, said to me, why don't you take an art class? You're really creative. And so I said, all right, I'll take an art class. So I took this art class, and in the art class, my teacher would come by when I first started learning and yell at me and say, and literally yell across the studio room, Deepa, relax. You got to relax when you're creating art. And I would go, okay, well, what can I do to relax? Well, I'm a yoga teacher, a meditation teacher too. I've been certified in both of those things. So I thought, let me start using some of my yogic and meditative, practices and tools. So I started doing that in the art studio. I would meditate a little. I would do some pranayama. I would pray. I started inviting, Divine Mother in to relax. I came to painting my first person, which was, I decided to paint Yogananda. If you can see him there in the lower corner, I decided to paint him. And I decided, and I got this download from Divine Mother, paint this painting as if it has his vibration, his power, his blessings, his energy. But I kept it to myself because I was afraid to tell anybody. And so I had that intention, had this whole ritual I created while I did it, and got done, hung it up to dry, and someone who I did not know in the studio came by, seeked me out, came up to me because I was checking on Yogananda to see if he was dry, and said, did you paint this painting? And I said, yes, I did. And she said, well, I just have to tell you, I'm a disciple of his, and when I see this painting, I feel his power and his energy. It feels like I'm being blessed by him. And I said outwardly, thank you so much. But inwardly, I was like, oh my goodness, it worked. Oh my goodness, it worked. So I thought, okay. Now I thought, okay, what's my next painting of a person? I want to do the painting of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And I want to create Our Lady of Guadalupe so it has the energy of the original miracle. Now, I don't have enough time to explain to you what Our Lady of Guadalupe is, but it's a miracle that happened. That's her above there, the one on top. She's a miracle that appeared on a tilma in Mexico for blessings and everything to the people back then. And I wanted it to have that vibration. Again, what happened, I finished her up. I was painting the stars on her cloak, which you probably can't see from this distance. But my teacher, who's not spiritual at all, came by and goes, wow, when you painted those stars in that cloak, she came alive. I was like, yeah, she really did, So I was like, no, whatever. I felt that too, Another woman, again, did not know her. She came in that studio. She's Mexican from Mexico. She comes up to me and she says, oh, so beautiful, Our Lady of Guadalupe. I love her. I feel her energy and her vibration. I've seen the original. Oh, you could go sell her for $1,500. Someone will buy her. So I went, oh my goodness, it worked again. Like this intention of putting the vibration, the energy, the blessings into these, it's working. So then I knew at that point, I wanted to create all of my painting as sacred portals. Okay, so what happened was by combining my yogic techniques, my spiritual techniques with creativity, I realized, oh, it's starting to create this energy, this vibration. It's creating this superpower, okay? Now, remember I said I wasn't visual at all? What happened is I continued to paint and continued to do my spiritual practice with combining it together, combining creativity and spirituality together. I started to have visions. I would go into my meditations and these visions would come to me and I'd be like, like at the end of the meditation, like, wow, like what was that? And then I started to realize Divine Mother was coming to me, encouraging me that all of these visions were to be created into sacred portals to bless people. And that I was here to bless people with the divine presence, to help people connect to their higher selves, their higher powers, to start to invoke their superpowers that they're to create. Okay, so now all of my paintings now are sacred portals that come from visions, that come to me. They're visions, and then I create them into these sacred portals with specific blessings and intentions so that all of you can be blessed and that they help you to deepen your connection with your higher power, with deepening your ability to trust your intuition, deepening your ability to know your intuition and trust and know that you really know what it's telling you, okay? But then what was happening was I was painting all these sacred portals, but you know who they were blessing? Me. And that was it. Anybody can guess why they're only blessing me? Because I wasn't showing them to anybody. I was keeping them in my art studio, hidden away, because I was too afraid that people were going to think, is she nuts? Is she crazy? Oh, what if they don't feel this blessing, And I was afraid. So I then had to realize, I have some healing to do around this, to be willing to be seen, to be willing to let my work be seen, whether it's criticized or accepted or received or not. Because even if someone doesn't receive the blessings, it's still blessing them. People don't always notice when they're getting an opportunity or a blessing or a benefit because their mind doesn't allow them to see it. Their resistance doesn't allow them to receive it. Anybody ever been there where you get resistant around things? Anybody? Yeah. That resistance keeps away your blessings. That resistance keeps away your superpowers, And so I had to do healing. I had to combine these three areas of creativity, spirituality, and healing to actually step in to my power, to step into being the blessing that I wanted to be in the world. Because I would go around saying I want to be a blessing, and I wouldn't tell anybody. I keep it to myself because I was afraid. Now I tell people, I want to be a blessing. I want to bless you. If you feel it, yay, that's what I want. If you don't, it's okay. I bless you anyway. And so I just say it now because it's what I want. I want to. It's my desire. It's my purpose to be here, So I started to combine those three things. And I thought, okay, I've got it. I'm moving forward. What happened next? The sacred portals started speaking to me. They started giving me messages. They started volunteering when I coach clients. So I do what I call it sacred portal success coaching. It used to be called just spiritual success coaching, but there's always a portal that invites or volunteers to show up for my client, and they always zero in intuitively on the actual thing that's blocking them, and then I help combine the practical so they can actually, how do I apply this? Because what I've seen is that many people go to intuitive readers and psychic readers and they get the message and they feel better at that time, but they don't apply it because they don't know how to practically apply what was given to them, or they don't know how to, actually come over the block because they don't even know what the block is, because people can't see their own block. They have a blind spot for themselves. And so I help them with that practical side of, here's how you apply what the divine presence is giving you. So they started speaking to me and giving me these messages. So that's when I started to put together that, oh, there's these things that actually are a catalyst to you awakening, revealing your spiritual superpowers and gifts. And then I saw what blocked it. So anyone want to know what's blocking you from having your complete spiritual superpowers available? Yeah? Okay. So there's three things. First one, you probably might even know it. Your fear, right? Fear blocks your ability to know what your superpowers are. Okay, now here's the funny thing about fear. Fear shows up in all kinds of different forms. Okay, it masks itself. It hides itself. I met a woman one time who said, yeah, I don't have any fear. I said, well, I haven't met anybody yet that doesn't have some kind of fear. It's all different degrees, but I haven't met a person yet. I go, because it does mask itself in funny ways. It looks like logic or practicality or responsibility sometimes. And it will hide itself to you so that you don't think it's fear. And so I ended out, coaching her, giving her a few examples. And she said, I see what you're talking about. I do have fear. I don't move in with my boyfriend, because she was younger. She was around 28. I don't move in with my boyfriend because my parents are Catholic and they don't approve of that. And so even though I don't want to get married yet, I want to just move in with them. I don't do it because I'm afraid of what my parents will think. I said, exactly. We all have some kind of fear that we don't recognize. And that fear that you don't recognize is what's blocking many of your spiritual superpowers, blocking you from knowing what your purpose is. Because one of your superpowers is actually your purpose, acting on it and starting to manifest in your life. It's a superpower to be able to do that because it's a gift you have to give the world. Okay. The second thing that's blocking you from knowing all your superpowers and allowing them to reveal are your emotional wounds. Your emotional wounds from the past hurts, past events, past experiences that have created a wound. Now, how do you know if you have an emotional wound? You ever have that time period where you get reactive? Yeah, anybody gotten reactive where you don't understand, like, you're like, yeah, you kind of go, oh, and then you go, whoops, we hadn't done that or said that. That is an emotional wound. When you're having a reaction that's bigger than the event that's happening, it's pushing on a wound from the past. That's a sore spot that needs to be healed. So that's why, and when you heal those, then you stop going into reactivity and you can start be present in spirit that's in you, because you are a powerful being and that spirit is in you. It is you. Okay. And the third one is your subconscious programming. We've all been programmed from a very young age, with the beliefs our parents had, society has. Before you were 7, you were an open book. And you didn't have the ability to say, no, I don't believe that, I don't accept that. And so you have a programming, a tape that happens, that goes on, that you just go into autopilot with what you start to think, say, and do, that needs to be reprogrammed. Those are the 3 things that block your ability to actually awaken all of your spiritual superpowers, to awaken your ability to know your purpose. Because they keep you in this certain little cocoon paradigm of how you act, what you're doing, what you're thinking. Okay. Now, one of the things that's really important to open up your ability to know what your purpose is and to start to awaken those superpowers, to be the catalyst for your superpowers, is to live by the law of what's called the law of more life. See, we're supposed to be continually expanding and growing. It's a law, it's a spiritual law that if you're not doing it, life will get hard. So if your life is getting hard right now, then you're not on that expansive side of the equation. But I'm going to ask you a few questions so you can determine for yourself where you are, okay? So I want you to answer these questions, and you can just answer them silently to yourself. I want you to ask yourself, do you feel bored or stagnant in your life? Do you feel like something's missing in your life? Are you afraid, stressed, or down on yourself most of the time? Do you do the same old thing week after week after week? If you've answered yes to any of those questions, you're on the contractive side of the equation. You're not working with the law of more life. Okay, so I want you to answer these now. Do you feel fulfilled at the end of your day? Do you feel joy and happiness throughout your day? Do you feel passionate or enthusiasm about what you're doing in your day? Do you feel abundant? If you've answered yes to those questions, then you're on the abundance side. You're on the expansive side of the equation. Now, everybody's in a different place. Some people might have answered yes to all 4 or no to 2 and yes to 2. And, and that's the thing is that we're all in a different place. And so there's always a different next step for each person. It's one of the reasons why when I work with people, I say, my method with the sacred portals is not cookie cutter, because a cookie cutter method doesn't work for everybody, because we're all in a different place. And you have to go determine first, where are you, before you can go, what's the next step? Okay, so those questions were there to help you a little bit to figure out, where am I? And not to beat yourself up. If you're on the contractive side, it's not about, oh, what's wrong with me? It's about, okay, well, what can I do now differently? What help can I get? Because we all need help. I have help, and so you want to be able to own that. Our programming has been given to us that we should be able to do it on our own. And it's not true. We're wired for connection. That's why COVID has been so hard for people, because we are wired to connect. We are wired to when we come together, it's more powerful. You know, that's why brainstorming and masterminds are so powerful, because when you collectively bring several minds together, several energies together, it becomes more powerful. And so I really invite you to start to think about, you know, what can you do to start to get the help that you need. Now that you know what blocks it, what are the things, and 3 things that are going to help you overcome it, right? So you can start to know your purpose, start to awaken those superpowers. I've mentioned them already: spirituality, creativity, your healing. You have to go, I'm willing to look at all 3 of those components, bring them together so I can actually be the best that I'm here to be. Who here wants to reach their full potential? Show of hands? Yeah, okay. You might think it seems silly, but on a day-to-day basis, do you really think that way? Do you really go, how can I be my best today? How can I move forward towards my full potential? And I will tell you, your full potential is constantly a moving target. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Law of more life. Each level you get to, there's another you can expand to, because spirit's always expanding and growing, and so are you, because you're spirit. You know, you are a powerful being, powerful beyond measure. I want you to let that sink in, because it's the first step. You have to go just a little bit to say, even if I don't believe this, I'm going to start moving towards it, because that's what's going to help awaken my spiritual superpowers. Me doing my purpose is important. I matter. You matter. Every person in the world matters. You who are on this call right now are in a place where you're contemplating to matter more or not. I invite you to say, I matter more. And when I say that, I mean, I invite you to be a bigger light in the world. You know, to go, you know what? I'm going to own my gifts, and I'm going to start to look at how can I continue to expand and grow, because that's what's going to develop your superpowers. See, and it's about just doing the next step. If you noticed in my story, what did I do? I did the next step. I didn't know where it was going to lead me. I got some help. I learned how to use my creativity more. I used my own skill set of being a yoga teacher and a meditation teacher, and all my use of practice of how to like get centered and relax, you know, to work with my creativity. Now, this might not be your answer, the creativity part, in this way of like painting and such. You know, the key is to find out what your creativity. Everybody has creativity. Even that person who says, I don't feel creative, you're creative. Okay? So I want to give you a gift today, that just so that you can help with the next step. So if you go to deepalu.com/gift, you can have a complimentary 30-minute session with me to help you determine where you are and what your next step is. Because I want to help everyone move towards expanding in your life, growing towards your purpose, growing your spiritual gifts and powers, your superpowers, because I know those superpowers, when you start to reveal them, they are here to serve others. And the more you step in them, the more it will happen. Okay? Now, I asked which sacred portal wanted to show up to bless all of you in this talk today. And Archangel Michael Sword of Light volunteered. It's got a little bit of glare on there, but Sword of Light came to me when I was at an Archangel Michael retreat, and the vision just was full blown. I just felt like blessed and like, oh my goodness, when I got home from it, I had to go paint the Sword of Light. And Sword of Light is all about helping you release what's no longer serving you and anointing you with your power. You know, because think about when somebody gets knighted. We're not, you know, British, but the British, they knight people. Why do they knight them? Because they've done something that they feel is honorable, is helpful to society, that adds to society, and they knight them, and it like actually implants it in their DNA even more. They don't say it that way, but that's what it's doing. When somebody takes on that Sir or Dame title, you see a difference in how they start to be in the world. And that's the same for you. When you start to go, hey, you know what? I'm going to start to go towards, you know, being my powerful being my full potential, expanding into more life. Life starts to meet you. Spirit comes and meets you. You don't have to know the how. You just have to be willing to take the action, take the next step. That's the key thing you have to do. Okay? So what we're going to do here is sort of light is going to come. We're going to do a little meditation now. And sort of light also typically gives a little message. So I'm going to give that with you. It's a message for the whole group, obviously, because there's not time to give one to individual people. All right? Would people like to have that message with the meditation? Show of hands. Okay. So what I want you to do is hopefully you can see sort of light well. I'm going to try to move my body a little bit so that the lighting is a little different. I want you to focus on the image right now with your eyes. Okay? And just take a moment and deep belly breathe into your belly. And then exhale, relaxing your body, your mind. And just focus on what you're feeling, what you're seeing. And be open to receiving the blessings from sort of light.
Excuse me one second. Ken, can you please mute yourself?
Oh, sorry.
Can you mute your on the computer? Thanks.
So if you just continue to look at the sort of light, just imagine the rays of the sort of light coming in and blessing you. And as that happens now, close your eyes, seeing the sort of light in your mind's eye. Imagining the sort of light blessing you with the ability to release and let go of all that is no longer serving you. Uniting you with all your power. Feeling that power being blessed into your heart, into your mind. And just close your eyes and allow yourself to focus on the blessings. Just receiving the blessings. So sort of light's coming to me and saying how power, the word power, sort of light is saying is it's a tricky topic. And sort of light is wanting you to actually meditate and journal on your relationship with the word power, with your power, with the power in the universe, on how you're feeling about power. That right now, that in the universe, it seems as if power is being misused, that power is being abused, that power is, being used for and I don't like to say bad and good, but that's the best word I can come with right now is bad. But sort of like is encouraging us that when we actually start to have a positive relationship with power, we will be the tipping point that creates it, that power now shifts for good. And so sort of like it's really asking you, are you willing to go and look at your relationship with power and actually go, how can I have a positive relation with power? Power in my life, power in the world, that I utilize power for positive, expansive, loving, joyful energy in the world. Because that we're the difference it's going to make, is that we'll be the tipping point when we have a positive relationship with our power. So sort of light is coming and saying now, let's just bless you on your right shoulder, and then your left shoulder, and the crown of your head with that sort of light. Blessing you with the positive relationship with power in the world and in your life. And when you're ready, just slowly open your eyes and bring your energy back into the room.